Just a reminder, we record all of these calls, so don't say anything that you don't want other people to hear. This is our April book club call. Thank you for being on. This month's book is Getting Things Done by David Allen. I found it to be extremely stressful. It was the further I got into the book, the more stressed I got, and which is the whole purpose of the book is to not be stressed. So I found it to be very humorous and amusing. I'll just start talking, and anyone that has any thoughts or comments, jump in, especially those of you that have read the book. And again, I don't know if Aliona is on the call, but I know Aliona loves this guy, loves the book, has definitely adopted the entire thing, the entire time management system to her way of life, which I'm definitely going to want her to talk about it, so I hope if she's not on the call, she jumps in. So basically the premise, and I do have lots of comments, is that if you have any item in your brain that item in your brain will cause you stress and anxiety and distraction, because your brain cannot decipher between my son's graduating in 3 months and I need to do the video for his graduation dinner to I have a broken tooth and I have to get to the dentist in 15 minutes. The brain, as phenomenal that it is, cannot decipher between something 3 months ago and something from 5 minutes. So the brain will continue to regurgitate your things to do list.
Conference call with that Beth, Azor.
Hello? If you guys, I love to hear comments, but if you're talking to someone else, we need to mute the lines. So basically he says that you have to put it all down in some sort of collectible, method, whether it is on something like an Evernote or whether it's on paper. And what he suggests is if you adopt his system, he wants you to take 2 or 3 days or 6 or 8 hours, depending on how much stuff you have, and literally go through every piece of paper and have an inbox, and if there's something like I have to take the suit to the seamstress before Vegas, that obviously you don't have the suit in your office, but you write that down on a piece of paper and in the inbox it goes, and then you start going through the inbox and you have file folders. It just was overwhelming to me listening to this book. So now I absolutely 100% agree with him that if it's in your head and not somewhere, how that could stress you out and add anxiety to your life. So I definitely buy in on that. But the idea that you have to go through 2 or 3 days of this organizational process might stress me out more. So I'm going to stop to see if anyone wants to jump in, if anyone's read the book or anyone has a comment on what I just said.
Hey, Beth, it's Greg Parsons.
Hi, how are you? Did you read the book?
I'll be full disclosure, I did not, so I apologize.
Okay. No, it's okay.
However,
you guys don't have to read the books. I just want to know before you speak because I need to know the context, so go ahead.
However, if you watch any of his TED Talks or if you watch any of his stuff online on YouTube, mm-hmm. the book is pretty much regurgitated in visual form. So for the most part. Now, what I will say though is it can stress you out. But what I think is interesting about what I got just from watching him on his videos is that just being engaged in your life and not and I do like the fact that he says to write things down, but I don't think that's a practical application to spend 2 to 3 days to kind of organize your life. I think there's better ways to do it. I do understand the premise. You know, I've implemented time blocking, which has completely reorganized myself, and I'm probably the most disorganized person there is in the world. But that tends to keep me focused because I can get distracted and scattered very easily. So that part has helped me laser focused on what I'm trying to do, and get myself a little bit more organized.
Yeah, I have not watched the TEDx or his videos. Maybe I will. I understand 100% that if everything that was in my head was somewhere collected on, sheets of paper or on Evernote or somewhere, would that, so, because what basically he says, if you don't have a clear head, you can't be creative. And I get that. I just don't know. Let's say I took 3 days to go, do this process. I'm assuming that an hour after I finish the process, I get 3 more to-dos that I've got to now go back and put in the process. Like, you don't stop getting things to do. This is what it's like. And he does say that you review, you have these projects. And so, again, I'm going to be all over the place on this because it did have some really great meaty things. Like he says, if you've got things to do, it's only productive when you have action steps, right? So, so maybe your project is my Michael's is moving out in July. That's a to-do, right? Now, it's not productive until you have action steps. So I need to make, 3 cold calls to national retailers every day. And I need to meet with Kara to brainstorm about uses, or I need to send out, and you guys will hear me and cringe, email blasts, but only to tenant rep brokers. So I send email blasts only to tenant rep brokers, not to the retailers. But, having action steps on your to-do item. He says without action steps, it's worthless and not productive. And so I think that that's interesting. I will tell you, my trainer, I told him I was reading the book. He said, I read that book years ago. In fact, how funny is this? I've been listening to the Audible, but I was cleaning my bookshelf a couple of weeks ago, and I found one of the original books, and one of my leasing agents, Mitch, for those of you in South Florida know Mitch Boxer, he was one of my leasing agents. He gave me the book probably, I don't know, it's old. Like, I started reading the hard copy, and I realized I can't read this. They don't even know about, email in this book, 2001. So, and he wrote, Beth, good information in here, Mitch. So that was funny. But so my trainer said, I read that years ago. He goes, I remember it being overwhelming. I said, yeah, that's about how I would describe it. And then he said, but I tell you what, I still do something from reading it to this day, and I got it from that book. And I said, well, what's that? And he said, the 2-minute rule. And so in the book, the 2-minute rule is if you can do it in 2 minutes, just do it. Don't delegate it, but do it right then and there. So if I want to get a massage this weekend and I think about, okay, I need to get a massage, well, I can do that in 2 minutes. I can go online and sign up for my massage. That if you can do it in 2 minutes or less, don't delegate it, just do it yourself and do it the minute you think about that. So, and I have read, I did some Googling on him for other comments about people that have read the book and what they thought about the book, and I saw 3 or 4 comments about people saying, love the 2-minute rule. So I thought that was a great takeaway. I'm going to keep talking until I hear someone interrupt me. He says that you cannot generate power of your brain unless you're in a relaxed state. And again, that means about getting all of it out of your brain and onto a system and onto a piece of paper or Evernote. I think that's somewhat true because, people say I get all my good ideas, whether they're driving in the car, or I get mine when I have massages. People get them in showers. So I do think that when you're relaxing and trying, and not thinking about 30 things that, on your to-do list, you tend to be more creative, right? So I see that. He also talked about, and I'm sure this is true for all of us, how organized and how much do you get things done right before you're going away on vacation, right? So you get organized and you get all the priorities taken care of so that you can go on vacation. And he says the reason people have such a great time on vacation is because they just spent the last 2 or 3 weeks getting a bunch of stuff done. So do some of you on the phone, do you find that when you're getting ready to go on vacation, there's a book, I know Chris Ressa had his team doing this, I think, all of last year. I think it's called the 4-week year. So instead of, that was the same premise, that if you are a public company and you have quarterly end of quarter results where you've got to go get all your leases signed, it's a lot of pressure to get leases signed before the end of the quarter. But he also says that in that book they talk about vacations. How much do you get done when you just have a limited time to do it? You're very focused on setting priorities and getting the stuff done. So that 4-week year was a model that I know DLC was working on for a while. So what do you guys think? So the two comments are you more creative when you are relaxed? And you can't be relaxed if you have 43 things going on in your head. And do you get so much done right before vacation? So I'm going to throw that out to the group. Hello? Nobody wants to speak today, huh?
Hey, Beth, I will. Fine. I don't care. I'm happy.
It'll be me and you.
That's fine.
Okay.
What I think is interesting is that I don't necessarily get more creative. I get more creative when I'm engaged in the process, but by fully engaging in what I'm trying to do, whether it be replace a tenant or sit down with a retailer and offer different solutions just to kind of help increase their business. If I'm engaged in what they're truly doing, then I am so much more creative and can offer so much, so many different solutions to certain problems that, I'm more relaxed that way. I guess theoretically, and it goes back to what David was talking about is the more you are engaged in your projects, the less relaxed, the less stressful you are because you're in the moment.
You're in it.
And you're in it. You own it. You're offering solutions, and you're offering value, and you're being valuable to not just yourself, but whomever you're dealing with. So,
right.
But I don't feel like I'm.
So you are, when you're in it, you're not distracted. So then you can be focused, and then you be creative. Exactly,
and that's exactly right. And yes, just even some of the videos that David talks about. It's extremely overwhelming, and I don't perhaps see everything that he sees, but. If I think that the engagement part, and I think that's a lot to do with everything that's kind of going on in our world today, either from a business development perspective or retail perspective, we've kind of lost the engagement. I've just noticed a lot of retailers that just tend to think I can just show up and I'm just generating sales today, when that's not even what they should be doing. I get the whole sales part. But if they don't know why they're there or what their motivation is, what's the point?
Right.
Don't waste your time. Go do something that you want to do.
Well, and they're in case in point is Toys R Us, right?
Exactly.
No engagement with the customer. Phenomenal opportunity. What do we spend the most on our money? What do we spend the most money on? Our kids. What is the number one driver of retail today? Experience. Kids and experience equals not Toys R Us. Even Home Depot has, the Saturday morning, Home Depot goes, how do I get the dads to come to Home Depot on a Saturday? They want to come, but the wives don't want them to come unless they bring the kids. Well, let's do something for the kids. Oh, let's build birdhouses. Dad, you go and shop and leave your kids with us, and we'll build birdhouses. So now the kids wake up on Saturdays and go, Dad, let's go to Home Depot. I mean, frickin' brilliant, right? So
Yeah, I mean,
he says you can fool everyone else, but you can't fool your own mind. That
correct.
goes back to, I do when I sit down and get all the stuff that's in my brain out on paper, I do have a clearer path, right? It's kind of like, I don't know. So, Greg, obviously you're a guy, but I don't know if for the women in the room, sometimes I come in, and maybe for guys with briefcases, but sometimes I'll come into the office and I've had a, unusually hectic week, travel, appointments, da-da-da. I come in, I get to my office, I sit down, and the only thing I want to do is clean my purse. Now, I have 43 things I need to do, but I need to clean my purse before I can do thing one. Josie will walk in and go, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm cleaning my purse." It's kind of like cleaning your brain or your mind. Like, I know it's a mess and I cannot move forward. Or there's that I think Navy SEAL guy who writes the book. You got to wake up and make your bed. So there's this cleaning the clutter of your brain and your mind. I get the whole concept. I just don't know how you spend 3 days doing it and think that you're done. It's just this ongoing thing. I don't know if Aliona has joined us yet. I would love for her to speak to how she's doing this. I think she told me she's been doing his program for like 3 years. So just crazy.
In the meantime, Beth, I'll jump in.
Oh, who is that?
Hey, it's Teresa.
Oh, jump in.
So just as I told you before we officially started the call, I did not read the book, but I am a list person, and I know that sometimes we distinguish one another. Are you a list person or are you not? So I will buy into the general what you're saying too, that I need to get it out from circling around in my mind and getting it down, and then I'm going to organize it by priority. And I reset it every week. And it takes me probably about an hour and a half to go to redo it. What did I accomplish last week? Where am I? Where are my priorities? And then I'm relaxed about it. And from the standpoint of, okay, I know where my priorities are, and kind of a combination of, I wouldn't say block scheduling, because I'm subject to a lot of, like we all are, conference calls and interruptions, and but then when I know I get stuff, I also put time. Way back to Zig Ziglar days, I do put time needed to accomplish each of those items on my list. Just a rough estimation, which I usually double, so I can see how feasible it is to attain what it is that needs to be done.
And let me ask you, in that hour and a half and all those things you're doing and prioritizing, do you have personal things in there too, or is it just work?
That's all work.
And what do you do about personal? Because that's floating around in your brain too.
So I actually don't write those down. And they don't circle the same way.
Yeah, good for you. They're circling mine the same way, sometimes worse.
Hey, this is Glenn in Albuquerque, and I'm going to agree. I got to clear it all out. A cluttered brain makes it hard for me to focus. I mean, I'm not a list person. I'm what I like to call a forced list person. I'll go everywhere if you let me, but I got to do a list to keep myself focused and on track. At the same time, I mean, I've got 4 kids, wife, 2 dogs, plus a business to run, this, that, and the other. I've got to get it all worked out. Otherwise, it keeps coming back in my brain. It's like, you didn't do this. You didn't do this. When you get you home, your wife's going to yell at you because you didn't do this. So I have to get it all going. I'm that guy like the SEAL does. You've got to make your bed first thing in the morning. I do that every morning. First thing I get done in the day, got to make my breakfast. First thing, next thing I get done, got to make sure the kids are fed after school. Get myself to the office at this time so I can start my research. My co-broker here, Chris, we got to hit our strategy sessions. We got to have our plans. I force myself to get those lists going. At the same time, you've got to reprioritize all through the day. But I've got to clear my mind through everything, or I'll be everywhere.
Right. So you're
I start to get stressed out if I get away if I didn't get to reset my list, and then I feel like and I go like, well, just go ahead and what are kind of the top things, go ahead and do them, and then I start getting stressed because I know that I'm kind of floating. I'm not necessarily doing it in the priorities.
So how many, Teresa, so you do an hour and a half every week, great. How many things, and you don't do personal, which, good for you. I can't even imagine. So now, how many things are on that list? I'm heading somewhere with this.
I'll look on my current one. Give me 1 second. And I think that I'm going to also say that my family stuff is more like 2-minute deals. I will actively text throughout the day. My kids are old enough that we're not in daycare type situations. I've got drivers too, but most of my family things on a day-to-day basis, I'm exercising the 2-minute rule on.
Okay. Can you tell me, is it 10 or 100 on that hour and a half?
It is. Hold on, I'm executing a left-hand turn while I'm looking at it.
Oh my God! Don't get in a.
I won't.
One of the quotes in his book, which is humorous, just as a side note, waiting for Teresa. I am rather like a mosquito in a nudist camp. I know what I want to do. I don't know where to begin.
Right.
I thought that was hilarious.
So this one this week looks like it's about 50 items long.
Okay. So I will say this. I will tell you, I am not the most organized person in the world. People say, how do you get so much done? I have Josie. If I didn't have Josie, 80% of the stuff wouldn't get done. But I will say this. I do pretty much religiously do the following. And I've shared this before. Before I go to sleep at night, like when I'm kind of, slowing down or getting ready to turn off the light and set my alarm, I put, the 5 things. I think about the next day. I look at my calendar and I think about the next day. What are the 5 things offensively, right? Not reactively, not defensively. What are the things I need to do tomorrow that move the ball ahead? And it has nothing to do with the stuff on my calendar. Because the stuff on my calendar, it's going to get done. It's on my calendar. So, what do I need to do? So did I not make any cold calls on the Michaels yesterday? Do I need to do 2 tomorrow or 4 because I didn't do any yesterday? Make 4 calls for Michaels. And then maybe the next one is work 15 minutes on the webinar for next month. Things to move the ball forward that are not a reaction thing, not a defensive thing, and not something that's on my calendar. And I don't always get all 5 done, and a lot of times, it's phone calls, right? A lot of times I might just say the 5 things or make 5 phone calls for Michaels, and then in the morning drinking my coffee, okay, who are the 5 people I'm going to call for Michaels today? And then driving after dropping Mario off at the bus stop on the way to the trainers, I can make 3 of the calls. So if I can get, let's say 3, if I do it religiously, I do 5 a night, and it's weird, and you guys know me, I'm not woo-woo or granola, but sometimes when you sleep on it after you wrote the 5, you get ideas. It's weird, but it happens. So if I get to Friday night at 6 o'clock and I've done 15, 3 a day times 5, and they were moving the ball ahead, that's a really good week because I did things to move the ball ahead, mostly prospecting stuff, So, but because otherwise, we all probably have things to do lists with 50, 75, 100, 150. And, sitting down and prioritizing. So Teresa, when you sit down, do you always sit down on Monday to do the hour and a half? Do you do it on the weekend? Do you do it the Friday before?
A combination of those. I am so happy when I get it done the Friday before.
Okay, and then you do it the Friday before. Now you're happy. You have a very relaxing, non-stress-free weekend, because if you didn't do it on Friday, it's weighing on you all weekend to do it. Yes?
Not that heavily, but it is. But it's it's there, so it's nice to know I'm coming in Monday, and I know what my path is.
You're hitting the ground running, and then how long does it take you to? Oh, you said it takes you an hour and a half, and how many things during the week of the 50 items? How many do you get done by Friday afternoon?
Usually do not get to the bottom of my list. But yeah, I mean, I've usually have overscheduled my ability, and so then those will come into the top of the next list to get them done.
And do you find that the stuff at the bottom of the list just never gets done because they're not really priorities?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no, because sometimes they truly are a priority. And I do not love research, and so I will push that one.
You procrastinate. There are things you procrastinate because you don't like doing them.
Yeah, and it's not going to make me money like the LOI that didn't get done on Friday that truly is going to get done on Monday.
Right.
I want to throw out, if I might, for the family folks, I don't know if this is going to help at all, but my husband and I use an app called Cozy, C-O-Z-I, and if you have a family master calendar, then you've already got a family master calendar electronically. This is a electronic master calendar that is an app that's on both of our phones that gives up to 3 notifications per each event, because he and I did not have a scheduler that was meshed together. So I don't know if that helps anybody in their family to-dos, but I've absolutely loved it.
That's great, because I find with my boys is they're terrible schedulers and reminders of things themselves, and if we started that as a family, they might I could start getting them into good habits.
There's even a grocery list part of it, so that whenever anybody thinks of something that needs to go on the grocery list while you're out and about, you just pop on, add it onto the list, so then whoever's going to go to the store.
I'm a big Shipt. I turned over and did all my grocery now by Shipt. They just, but it's good for people. I always say, hey, I'm ordering from Shipt. Who needs something? Okay, so let's go back to a couple more comments in the book. Let's see. It says, you don't actually do a project. You can only do action steps related to it. When enough of the right action steps have been taken, some situation have been created that matches your initial picture of the outcome closely enough that you can call it done. The list of projects is the compilation of the finish lines we put before us to keep our next actions moving on all tracks appropriately. He's all about, not just having the to-do items or the project list, but the action steps. That's big for him. I like this quote: "Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape." I like little quotes like that. And then just a few more. Another quote: "It's not enough to stare up the stairs. We must step up the stairs," meaning action. And he talks a lot about, if you get stuck, just take some form of action. Any form of action will help you get going on a project. So if you're procrastinating on something or putting it off, or, just like, what is it, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And I think that's true.
Agreed. It's kind of like physics. An object in motion will continue in motion. That's the truth. Basic
so
physics.
True. Just and I think that I have a friend who is going through some stuff, and and he's, gets a little down on himself and has a little depression. And I just said, just go take a walk outside, or, do the dishes, or just do something that takes some action, right?
Yeah, I'll go drive some balls for like a half an hour, at lunchtime or something, and then come back and get at it. Whatever it takes to clear the head and get right again. Yeah.
Yeah, Gabe Gonzalez, if you guys are following him on Instagram, yesterday he posted, he was outside walking, and he said, I have so much to do. He goes, I just came back from showing Space 4 or 5 times at 5 different shopping centers in Miami. I came back. I have 100 voicemails and 150 emails. And in those emails, there's LOIs and leases, but I just had to go take a walk and clear my head for 3 minutes. And
I think that's my problem is the fact I'm next to a golf course. So there's that little distraction,
That could be dangerous.
It is.
He also talks about, and I think, we all, this is a generation of people saying, how great multitaskers we are, right? But I've heard this before, not just from him. I don't like turbulence. So a couple years ago, I went to see a hypnotherapist because I wanted to try to see if they could help me, get more confident with turbulence. And what he said in a book I was reading about it, and David Allen said the same thing, is basically you can't think of 2 things at the same time, and you can't do 2 things at once, even though we drive and talk on the phone. But like the hypnotherapist said to me, the hypnotist said, if you're thinking of the graduation party that you threw for your son, and you did the video, and you were there, and it was so happy, and if you're like in that moment and turbulence hits, it's way harder for the turbulence to affect you. Now, if you're sitting there thinking it's going to be turbulent, it's going to be turbulent, it's going to be turbulent, it's going to affect you more. So the mind is a powerful thing, and getting your mind off of the negative thoughts and onto something positive is helpful. And David Allen says, again, you can't do 2 things at once, no matter how much, and you can't do them well, and you can't think of them. You can't think of both things at once. So, I wrote that down as well.
Well, and that goes into the action. So my mom once told me, if you want to dwell over something, you tell someone, don't think about a gray elephant. That's all they're going to think about is that gray elephant. If that's in your head, you've got to get after it and squash it. Otherwise, you're not going to move forward. You're always going to come back to that gray elephant. That stuck with me my whole life. I think she told me that when I was 5. And it's true.
Exactly. I think that's so true. It says, every decision you make, little or big, diminishes a limited amount of your brain power. Deciding to not decide about an email or anything else is another one of those decisions, which drains your psychological fuel tank. So that's pretty powerful. Every decision you make, little or big, diminishes the limited amount of your brain power, which is why he says you just power through and do it. Because if not doing it, you're making a decision. Right?
And you'll keep thinking about it.
And you'll keep thinking about it, and that will add stress, and stress is not good for creativity. Right?
And there goes your blood pressure. Exactly.
He says distinguishing actionable from non-actionable things is the first key success factor in this arena. Second is determining what your potential use of the information is, and therefore where and how it should be stored. Once these are addressed, you have total freedom to manage and organize as much or as little reference material as you want. So he's speaking about the stuff that you have hanging around, like future restaurants I want to eat at in my travels. Is that an actionable or non-actionable? No, it's reference, and then putting them in some sort of file folder, or take a picture of it and or put it on a list in Evernote. That's just a reference material. What I loved about him is he said he's a pack rat. Raise your hand. That's me. So I liked that he wasn't saying, you got to go paperless and you got to get rid of everything, or because it is stressful. You watch these stories and read these books and see all, these 60 minutes about, I don't know, that woman, the Asian woman who, wants you to throw everything away. That's the latest trend, right?
Oh, you
That's
hold it,
very
you give
stressful
you joy. Yeah, I couldn't do that. I would dwell on that too.
Right. What did I throw away? Now, and I don't know. Okay, who on this call has a 0 email Outlook page besides Josie? Who has 0 emails on their Outlook? I think we should have a vote to see, or whatever, a vote, not a vote, but who wins the award for the most emails on Outlook? Who wants to throw in a number? Greg, do you have an empty page?
No.
Good.
No.
Teresa, do you?
No, nowhere close.
Like, I have like 30,000.
40,551.
You make me feel so much better. I mean, I don't even have time to delete the frickin' things. Now, I did hear we are
It would
trying
take all day.
So it would take you all day to delete it, and then you'd wake up the next day and there'd be another 1,000.
Well, it's a fact of, okay, so what happened to that guy I talked to? What was that conversation? I could search his name and find that old conversation and go back to it and pick that up again. So if I delete it, go, what happened to that? I can't go back and reference it. So it's like, it's that little insecurity of, what if I forget?
I know. Well, so what I did do, because, people, even though I keep saying stop sending email blasts, no one's listening to me. Someone told me I think it was at the OAC. I'm not sure where. It was one of the many conferences I've been in the last month. What they said is there's a way to create a separate email Outlook box and tell it that any email that comes in that has the word unsubscribe at the top, all those will go to that separate email box.
Hey Beth, it's Hugh. I've been telling my team that actually all my team have that set up right now, and
so
it works.
Are you the one that told me about this? I want to give you credit.
Probably. Someone else had asked me that at OAC, saying, hey, I'm getting like 300 emails a day, and I said, yeah, a lot of it's junk.
Right.
I think by law they have to put the word either unsubscribe or remove, but remove is too common, so just live with unsubscribe. And just set up a rule in your Outlook saying if the body of the email contains the word unsubscribe, move it to another subfolder. I call it mass emails. And then, but you have to make sure that they don't do that with emails that have the word unsubscribe, but also have the RE or the FW in the front, because it might be someone trying to forward it to you or reply back to you. So that would be the 2 exceptions.
Well, we did it. I do think, Hugh, you probably were the one that told me about it, so thank you. And we did it, and Josie said she's getting more emails now than I was, but at least mine have definitely cut down. Now,
I love that.
My emails have unsubscribed, so now when you guys do this, you're not going to get any of my emails. But I'm willing for that to happen. Just, follow me on social media, because I'd rather not be sending you guys emails anyway. But so, Hugh, is Aliona there, or is she at an appointment?
No, she's at an appointment.
So she's the one that, do you know if she is using this whole system and program? I think she told me she's been using it for a couple of years.
She's she you know how she is. So she tried to one-up me on that. And now she has folders for landlord leasing, tenant rep leasing, like categories. And she tries to find the keywords that are unique to those emails that come in for lease or for sale, and she tries to sort out those mass emails even further. So she actually has this pretty complex set of rules, which I tried to follow, but I wasn't able to. So I just keep it simple and go with unsubscribe.
No, but I'm talking about David Allen's system on getting things done.
Oh, that she does have that. She does follow that for the last couple of years. Well, one of the things that she does is she tracks her time. So, in any given week, she can tell you how many hours she was canvassing, responding to emails, putting LOIs together, leases together, et cetera. And she says that's been really helpful. So if you track your time, and there's apps for that now, so if you track your time for a couple weeks, you can kind of see maybe where some inefficiencies are, or maybe you can batch process some stuff.
Well, that's like, Greg, on your time blocking, that's kind of along the same, now I think what you probably do is say, I'm going to spend an hour, calling tenants to do pop-ups, versus I'm wondering if Leona just sits down and starts working and then says, okay, I spent 48 minutes on that, either forwards or backwards, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, Hugh, how many emails in your Outlook? He's going to have like 10, watch.
Right now I have 68, but that's just because I get,
I'm so jealous.
I get a lot every day. So one of the books you sent to me with the Zappos guy, what he does is he actually he answers the emails one day behind. So he doesn't even look at the current day's emails. He answers the previous day's emails. And that's less stressful for him, because you get into that kind of, hamster wheel of just constantly, replying to emails. Mm-hmm. And if you wait a day and respond to the emails a day later, a lot of this stuff gets resolved throughout the day, just from other mm-hmm. people that might be CC'd on it. And that's what he does. I mean, I tried it. You can do it on some stuff, but, I'll let some stuff kind of go for a day, but some stuff you need to reply right away.
So let me ask you, how in the world do you get it to 68? How much time do you spend deleting crap every day? You've got to spend an hour just deleting, don't you? Because don't you get like 300 emails a day, 400?
I do, but with my rules that are in place in my inbox, I would say I get about 100 or so emails that I actually need to read within 24 hours mm-hmm. and respond to. All the rest goes to that spam to the mass emails folder that mm-hmm. I can check over the weekend if I'm like just on the couch or something. Mm-hmm. If I feel like it, or maybe it goes a couple of weeks before I check that. But but yeah, it's a lot of rules. So if I need
you, I better text you, huh?
Well, no, I keep an eye on it. If it doesn't have the word unsubscribe, I mean, it shows up. I can check my phone. I can decide whether or not I want to, respond to it right away.
Yeah, I hate, Josie goes, just unsubscribe. So I hate it when you push the unsubscribe and then it says, fill out this information. Oh, it's so annoying. So did you read the book, Hugh, or no?
I didn't read the book.
That's okay. You don't have to read the book. I'm just curious as to who. Did anyone on the call read the book?
This is Marty Mang, and I read that book a long time ago. I'm a great fan of it.
You are?
I've been for you a long time. Mm-hmm.
So you follow the principles? How
yes,
often?
I do.
So every week you'd write it all down and put it in your files and do all that. Very organized.
I go to my Friday review session. I don't get all the way through it, but I found that organizing your thoughts with this was extremely helpful, because it makes you think of what's my next action step. So right. That's what I have it all organized, all my tasks with the next action step, and sometimes more than one.
Right.
And I do like a weekly review to update where it is, and I know where everything is and everything I have to work on, everything I have to look at. And I love the system. And every time I read through that book, I learn something more about actually setting your long-term goals and working down backward and so on and so forth. But I really like it.
So let me
I
ask
like
you this.
So much.
How many new things do you add a week? Like, because you've got to add a bunch every week that's new, right?
Yes. Yeah. You just add whatever comes in. You just kind of. I actually use tasks for it. So I just click on task and put it in there.
And that's in Outlook?
Yeah.
Do you have a CRM, Marty, that you use or no?
Yeah, we do.
So you do this and a CRM.
The CRM is different. This is like our CRM is kind of proprietary, and it's in Outlook also, but I can use just plain Outlook for this.
Right.
Just
now,
a little bit of organization
Hugh,
tip.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hugh.
So for the task list, if you guys download Todoist, I-S-T, that's like a task list on steroids where you can, do a lot of tagging and other things, labels, tags, filters, and all that. Really good. You can actually have it as an add-on to your Outlook to replace your Outlook task list, which is not as good, and then it syncs to your phone, and you can also log into it through the web. Super good.
So Hugh, you use Todoist, Outlook, and your CRM.
I use I personally, if I was doing leasing, I would definitely use the Todoist. I know Aliona uses it. I have it up, but I haven't had enough time to be able to dedicate into how to really integrate it into my workflow. Right. So it's on my to-do list. Todoist is on my to-do list. But
I love it.
But I think it'd be helpful.
Who on the phone has a CRM, and what CRM are you using? If you're really using it, if you're playing around with it, I don't want to know. Who's using the CRM, and if it's proprietary or is there a name?
Yeah, ours is.
Go ahead,
ours
Marty.
is on City National has its own, and it is a offshoot from Workforce, but it's
Salesforce.
It's been Salesforce, but it's been like adapted for us. But we're getting an upgrade and so on, and we're absolutely required to use it. We have to use it. When I say required,
Right. Teresa, are you on a CRM?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We really are not yet. We've been poking around a different one.
Okay. Greg?
We use Salesforce, but what I've learned with some of these CRMs, they are as good as the time as you put into. Yes. Yeah. And you actually have to use them. And our issue has always been, they threw it out there and they gave us all these little bells and whistles. Well, no, they never really gave us the keys to figure out kind of how to use it all. Right. So we've had it for 5 years, and only now am I really starting to use it to its full potential, which that's kind of sad.
And did you say it was Salesforce?
Yes, Salesforce.
Okay.
So Saglo uses ACT, just a really highly modified version of ACT that the team shares the central database, and you can see everybody else's notes, and we find it very productive.
How long are you going to do? You're going to keep that, or you're going to move on to something that you don't have to work so hard adapting all the time? Or you think you got it now and it's going to stay?
We haven't found something else that works as good as just purely a CRM as ACT. The weakness of ACT is the reporting. The reporting specifically for leasing, we just don't. We have a template which we actually do generate reports through ACT, but it's just a little bit more of an extra step. But we haven't found another CRM that works as good as a CRM other than ACT. So that's why
I just got the results. We just closed the survey, the annual leasing agent survey. One of the questions I ask every year is, does your team use a CRM? 35%. That's up from last year, I think was 22%. So we're moving in the right direction. But it's incredible. If you asked any other sales organization in any other industry, it would be 80 or 90%. But I think it's because in other industries, the employees are employees and not independent contractors. That's what I think.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so we're winding down. Any other comments before I talk about a couple of the announcements?
This is Marcia Minton from Madison Marquette. I just wanted to. Hi, how are you? I just wanted to touch base. So I do have a CRM. However, I have always had it on my own. Madison does not have one, nor have I had one in any of my previous companies either. And I use ClientLook, which is not as robust or as costly as you might find from the platforms that use Salesforce, like Apto and a couple of the other ones. But it does the minimums of what I needed to do without it being too much and paying for more than I need. And it also comes with a virtual assistant, which is fantastic because I can email information over or leave a message for this virtual assistant, and anything that I can do in ClientLook, they can do for me. But with regard to the Todoist and the Evernote conversation, I use Todoist. I think I've tried almost everything out there, but going back to the GTD, I didn't read the full book, but I sort of did a cliff notes of it after I read several chapters of it, and it started making my head spin. But one of the things that I had really done that I had found was after using Todoist, I was already using Evernote, and I wanted to see which one I thought was going to really keep me more organized and be able to implement GTD into it. And I had found a really great resource that really broke down exactly, if you're already an Evernote user, how to basically launch GTD into your Evernote, which, going back to the Zero Inbox, which I don't have, with the plugins with Evernote, I will manage most of my task list and using what I call the cabinet in Evernote that I'll plug emails into, and then I'll wind up doing like a mass sort of the emails that I've already dealt with, whether it was an action item, whether it was something that could be done at work, whether it could be done at home, and I use it not only for work, but I use it for home as well to manage all of the different things. Is it something that needs to be done now? Is it something that needs to be done next? An incubation period, that sort of thing. And then within Outlook, I basically take all of those emails that I've already really addressed and just drag them into a folder. So I have them separated by year. So 2018 emails are all in a 2018 email folder. So I kind of manage that process that way, but I really have had a lot of success in implementing the GTD system within Evernote. And again, it was for me making sure that you could integrate Outlook, with whatever the system was, because most of us, I think, do use Outlook. However, I realize there's a lot of people with Gmail, and I could also integrate Gmail with Evernote and the GTD as well. So anybody that's already using Evernote, if you are looking to employ GTD into it, I'm happy to share the resource that I had that I've been using for years now.
Thank you, Marcia. That was great. What I'll do is just, and I'm closing on this whole organizational thing. Every once in a while, probably on an airplane, I'll just go, okay, I'm going to just delete all of 2016 emails, and I literally just delete them all. And for about 15 seconds, I'm having heart palpitations, and then I probably never even think about it. No, I'm thinking, what photographs am I deleting? And I'm just hoping it's all in the cloud, and if it's not, oh well. So I sometimes just do that, or I'll, so FYI, one of the other tricks I use to try to get my 47,000 down to the 68 that Hugh has. Okay, so great discussion. Thank you guys so much for being on the call. So the next book is phenomenal. Now, I know at least 9 people that jumped ahead and read the next book and have been calling me and seeing me at conferences and texting me and telling me how they loved the book. It's called Atomic Habits. I have no idea the author's name because I don't have the book in front of me, but it's
James
Atomic
Clear.
Habit. Who is it?
James Clear.
Did you read it already? Are you the ones that jumped ahead?
I've read it a couple times. and watch the videos. The videos are a very good supplement to the book.
Okay, so it's phenomenal. It's on April 12th, same time. So do that. For those of us that are going to Retail Live on April 10th in Orlando, I'm actually going to be speaking there this year, so hope to see you guys there. Thanks for being on the call, and see you in the next book club, Atomic Habits. I'm already loving it. I think you guys are all going to love it, and it's a good transition from getting organized to now creating good habits. So have a great rest of your month, and I'll see you next month. Thanks again.
Thanks, Beth.
Thanks.